All the celebrities and influencers that you just saw are very well known and respected. Despite being a vegan, they have built a great physique. Since they can't eat meat, their diets are usually made of lots of yogurts, eggs, whey protein, and other dairy products. We all know how important protein is for bodybuilding. When you are a vegan, the available resources of protein are even lower, and those are the best amongst them. But the issue is that these vegan-based protein resources are not quite reliable. For example, 100 grams of chicken breast contains around 30 to 35 grams of protein, whereas 100 grams of yogurt contains only 10 grams of protein. So in order to fulfill your protein goals, you need to eat a lot, dozens of eggs and kilos of yogurt. But as a vegan, when you are eating an absurd amount of dairy products, you are contradicting the veganism itself. Now you might be wondering how. Well, watch the video till the end. That's why I'm here, to explain this complex subject to you. So at first, let's learn about veganism. What is veganism? Is it all about eating grass, which makes no sense? Or is there something else? By definition, veganism is a lifestyle and dietary choice that seeks to avoid the use of animal products as much as possible and practicable. That means diet-wise no meat, no egg, or even honey. And in daily lives, no leather, no oils, or any other animal-based products. However, there is another term, vegetarianism. Now you may think vegetarianism and veganism are the same thing, but they are not quite the same. There is a little bit of a difference. Vegetarianism is the lighter version of veganism. Veganism is hardcore mode. It doesn't allow any kind of exploitations of animals. But vegetarianism allows a little bit. It allows you to eat egg, fish, or honey. Vegetarianism is like a choice, a diet, but veganism is a philosophy, a way of life. So yes, all vegans are vegetarians, but not all vegetarians are vegans. That's why vegetarianism might appear a little weird. It's lazy and not so disciplined as veganism. Na ghar ka, na ghat ka. You see, not everyone is a vegan, for many reasons. And those who are not vegans have two major allegations against the vegans. The allegations are: veganism makes no sense, it brings no change to the world. We have been eating meats for years, it is in our nature and it's natural. Let's clarify these two allegations first and then we'll come to the final part of our video. Don't worry, I'm not a vegan or against them, so I'll not be sugarcoating anyone. I am raw and unbiased. Let me share you a little data with you so you understand if veganism really makes sense or not. Currently in our world, only 1 or 2% of the population is vegan, which is nothing compared to the meat eaters. In 2023, the world meat consumption was 360 million tons, which is 34 kilos per person per year. Globally, every year around 70 billion animals are killed for food. Each vegan spares around 100 to 150 animals every year, which means the 1% of the vegan spare 200 million animal lives every year. Indeed, the number seems way too small. After all that efforts, vegans are barely saving any animals. But you have to admit that the change is real. Like a wise man once said, just because it will rain doesn't mean I will not have an umbrella. So yes, you can't argue that veganism makes no change. It does, just on a smaller scale. They are unable to save the majority of the animal in the world, but they are able to save one's world. And that's worth it, because to a person or an animal, the whole world is irrelevant. Only his world matters to him. So if you can save his world, you save the world. Now comes to the second argument, which says we are meant to eat, it's natural, and vegans are wrong. Well, let's see. You're right, we have been hunting animals for hundreds of years. We still do that, and it still makes sense. But you are a human. Unlike any other animal, you are conscious, you are smart, you feel pain, you get injured, and you know the difference between good and bad. The wild animals, on the other hand, are not smart. They don't understand the difference between good and bad, but one thing is for sure, they feel pain. They know how it feels to get injured, they know how it feels to get hurt, and they know how it feels to bleed. So just imagine what those animals go through. Starvation, torture, disease, harsh weather, they have to go through everything without help. Let me tell you a very profound quote which I learned a few days ago. It says, "The most uncomfortable human is still more comfortable than any other animal." And it's true. we don't have the slightest idea of how brutal the nature is. It is truly a blessing to be born as a human. Both you and I know that the nature doesn't care for any of us. Even if you all went vegan, the animals would still die the worst way possible. But that's not the point. We live in an imperfect world where suffering is permanent and death is inevitable. But do you give up? You don't. Just because the world is against us doesn't mean that we have to surrender. And that's what makes us human. I know, knowingly or unknowingly, we would still kill animals. We can't have a perfect, harmless world. This is not a utopia. But we can do our best to reduce the suffering as much as possible, not to achieve perfection but to be perfectly imperfect. But when I see these so-called vegetarians and vegans, I get so annoyed. Like, do they even understand that they are no worse than any non-vegetarian? Now, before you leave or misunderstand me, let me explain why. Do you have any idea of how many chicks does the egg industry kill every year? Over 7 billion chicks are killed by the egg industry every year. Why? Because the male chicks can't lay eggs and they are not suitable for meat production. You know what happens to them? How we kill them? Chicks are ground up alive in high-speed grinders. Not only that, we have another way to kill them. They are gassed with CO2 or suffocated in bags. This was just the egg industry. Let me tell you a little bit about the dairy industry as well. Did you know that the cows are repeatedly impregnated to maintain milk production because it's only possible way to get milk from them when they give birth? And it's not done naturally. They do it using a restraining device. It's named rape rack. Cows are bred and fed to produce insane amount of milk which their body is not capable of. They are milked multiple times a day, which strains their body and makes them exhausted. And this process keeps happening over the years until they become old and can't produce milk anymore. And what happens to them next? They are sent to the slaughterhouse. Does it make you question your humanity? I haven't even told you the half of the humanity's actions that cause harms to the animals. So next time you see someone yap about how they care about animals and nature, so they are vegans and vegetarians but eat dozens of eggs and kilos of yogurts because they want to build a great physique, show them this video. You see, I'm not against vegans or non-vegans. I just think that you should know the consequences of your choices. You may not kill an animal directly, but you are the reason one is getting killed. So think before blasting dozens of eggs and kilos of yogurts. Share this video with your family and friends who you think should know about this blunder. And yes, if I have made any mistakes or missed any point, please let me know in the comments. I'm still learning and growing. Thank you for watching.